Well, hello, it's Wednesday, so it must be time for Woolly Hats Wednesday WIP. And you join me here inside the champagne room. It's a nice sunny day, but it's a bit breezy outside, and you might hear the gentle sound of the dishwasher in the background, and down below me I can smell some bread that Mr W and I have been making this morning. Anyway, that's enough of domestic situation. What have I been up to in my knitting and crochet? Well, I have put down my crochet for the moment because I thought I really need to finish the project. So you might remember I've been knitting this probably for about the last year or 18 months. It's a lovely Rowan pattern from the magazine number 66, and it's designed by Galina Carroll, and they've done it in felted tweed, which is their sort of go-to double knit sort of wool. It's got all kinds of things in it. But what I've been doing, I've been using my stash. So the way it's designed is there's two halves at a front for the front and the back. So I've done the front and now I've done the back. So that's one side of the back. So it's got a little thing there. And now I'm starting the second side of the back, and that will join onto the first bit. And then all I have to do then is the arms. But because it's drop sleeves, it won't take a long time to do. So that's what I've been doing. I do love a bit of fairisle, as you may know. And talking fairisle, just popped through the letterbox today was the latest edition of the Knitter, and you can see there's lots of fairisle on the front, and they have lots of interesting fairisle patterns for gifts, for little gloves and things like that. And there was one, here we go, I have put a marker in there. So there's one, that one there. And this is based on Swailedale or Wenslydale knitting pattern, which got me thinking and reminded me that I have a very interesting book which I would thoroughly recommend to anybody to have an interesting read, and it's called The Old Hand Knitters of the Dales. Now, many years ago, there were two ladies, Marie Hartley and Joan Ingilby, in the 60s, went around the Yorkshire Dales to capture the workers of the knitter, what happened with knitting and the sort of textile industry in the Yorkshire Dales. We used to go on holiday in Dentdale when I was a child, and we heard about the Terrible Knitters of Dent. The Terrible Knitters of Dent weren't terrible in our sense of the word. They were terrible because they knitted so fast, and a lot of the homes or the families used to do knitting stockings, knitting gloves and hats, and things like that, and sell them to subsidise or supplement income from their farms, which of course was sheep. So when I found, I'd heard about Marie Hartley and Joan Ingilby, but then they'd written a book, and when I was a child, it wasn't that far back then. But there was a lady here, there's a new edition of their book on the Old Hand Knitters of the Dales, which has been updated by Penelope Hemingway. And it's a brilliant book, actually. I really enjoyed reading this. And guess what? They have a pattern for a glove that was knitted in a Dales design. You can see that is a fairisle design as well. So I've always had that in my mind that I might do that. So I'll have to do that one day. So that was really interesting. So if you fancy a read instead of it, there they are, terribly knitting away at the back down the streets of Dent. Really interesting. Because of course we knit now because it's a hobby and it's something nice to do. We don't knit because it's cheap. But these were knitting to supplement their income. So aren't we lucky that we can enjoy it? We don't have to be knitting to a deadline all the time. Although sometimes we do when it's Christmas and birthdays. And talking of which, the C word, yes, is not far away. It's Christmas, and we have to think about what we're going to do for Christmas. So this magazine has lots of ideas, but the one I particularly like is this one here. It's a Martin Story pattern. He does really nice designs for little boys. If you look at the baby pictures or the toddler or children's patterns, a lot of them are really only suitable for girls. Although nowadays you can have them for anybody. If a boy wants to wear it, that's fine. But I really like his designs here because that would be suitable for a little boy or a little girl. It's in Tartier's technique, so down here at the bottom you'd have to have the different balls of wool into bobbins, but it's rather nice pattern. So there we go. Also, talking of Christmas and things like that, don't forget I am running a Christmas crochet workshop on, I think it's the 25th of November. I'll send details out later. if you want fancy coming along to do a bit of Christmas crochet and having a laugh and kick-starting your Christmas at the end of November. But there we go. So that was that's what I've been doing. I have been doing some crochet, but I thought I'd show you that fairisle and get you thinking about reading about the crafts and reading about the old knitters, where we came from. So there we go. The other thing to remind you of is that October is Wool Week and Wool Month, and the idea is to get people thinking about where wool comes from, the different types of wool and what we do. So I might do a little piece on that later, perhaps next month or next week, sorry, to get you thinking about wool and what to use and this, that and the other. Having said that, I'm not wearing wool today. This is Rowan hand knit cotton. It's quite an old little project of mine. It was it's a nice sort of, it's got short sleeves and it's cotton, so it's got sort of a few holes in as well, holes on purpose, lace. And it's a nice one to wear where it's not hot and it's not cold, it's sort of in between. So there we go. I also, sometimes I find the collars can be quite baggy because you don't want to cast off too tight. But sometimes if you don't pick up the right number of stitches, you have to do it again. Anyway, this one, with wear, it had sort of stretched a bit, and cotton hasn't got elasticity, so it doesn't ping back into whatever shape it was. So I've put a little bit of shearing elastic around the collar so that it doesn't keep falling off my shoulders. Just a little insight there. So, yes, I hope you're having a good week. I hope you're doing some interesting projects, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.